up? I'm your host, Matt Stauffer. This is episode 16 of the 5-Minute Geek Show, a twice-weekly show about development and everything around it. It's one topic per episode. It's about front-end, back-end, mobile, project management, design, whatever. Startups, bootstraps, if it's geeky, it fits. Today, we're going to be talking about the Great Twitter Experiment, Part 2. So in episode 15, which you haven't listened to episode 15, you don't even want to pay attention to this one. Go back, listen to episode 15. We were talking about what are the metrics for understanding whether or not you should follow somebody back on Twitter, and how manipulative is it or not to follow people purely because you think they're going to follow you back, all this kind of stuff. So the experiment was for the 5-Minute Geek Show to go on Twitter and follow all of the people that follow Matt Stauffer at StaufferMatt on Twitter. This episode is about reporting back, and I just got to let you know up front, it was not a success in terms of 5-Minute Geek Show right now follows 1,500 people. So it's got another 1,200 people to get to that number, because Twitter has limits on what aggressive following is, because I wasn't willing to do it purely automatically because that was against Twitter's policy and probably wouldn't have worked anyway. And because it takes a really long time to follow people. But we've already seen the results. It doesn't have to get to that full number to be able to see the results. So I'm going to report back on the results. So here's what I got. As of January 16th, 2015, 5-Minute Geek Show had 113 followers and it was following 112 people. Okay, so it's this one-to-one map. And then originally, that first day, I followed all of the 416 people that I actually follow. And at the end, well, not all of them that I thought actually might be interested. So this is a very normal one. I follow them, 5-Minute Geek Show follows them, totally in line. And it was 290 of them because I didn't follow people who I know in a totally non-geeky context. But a few days after that, it now had 161 followers. So it gained, I'm bad at math, but basically 50-ish followers, 49 followers, just by me following the people I actually follow. And I had no question, no weirdness with that. I mean, 5-Minute Geek Show is me, so if we follow the same people, no big deal. But then I started actually following the people from my list, and I instantly hit the aggressive following list or limit, and it was really difficult to do. The Twitter thing is not actually built to do a really good job of doing this. It was actually a big pain in the butt, and then I ended up building a really simple Laravel app that didn't do all the following for me, but it made it a lot easier for me to do that kind of work. I still wanted to see the names of all the people I was following because I felt like otherwise it was manipulative, and I didn't want it to be purely automatic because then it was going to be against Twitter's policies. So it was a manual thing, but it helped it make it easier. And today, 5-Minute Geek Show is following 1,455 people, and it has 325 followers, which means the numbers went up by, again, I'm bad at math, but 212. So went up by 212, which almost tripled the number of followers the 5-Minute Geek Show account has. So that's a success, right? But here's some of the pieces of it. I mean, I'm happy. More people saw it. One of the first things I saw was somebody who knows me, who has been following the 5-Minute Geek Show for a while, who said, oh, look, 5-Minute Geek Show's on Twitter. And I was like, well, it's been on Twitter since day one. They're also, so some of the implications, one of them, the ratio, the Twitter ratio, which is the following to follower ratio, was 1-to-1 before, right? And now 325 divided by 1455, that's a 22%. So whatever that 22 to 100, whatever that would end up being. So the ratio is a lot less, that can affect some trust signals. When you follow way more people than follow you, you're like, oh, what's going on here? There's also something I got this morning which cracked me up and I wanted to share with you guys. This tweet from Aryan Funputin at Programmer Dude. He said, you follow me, I follow back. I watch podcast about follow backs. This was the most meta experience ever. I feel played. Now, granted, I know he was playing around. He was kind of joking, but that's what it felt like to me. I actually almost recorded this episode several days ago and just said, I'm done with this. I can't do it anymore, because that's the thing. I was following people and I was seeing their names and I just felt manipulative, right? Especially when friends of mine who I knew had no interest in the 5-Minute Geek Show, who only followed back because they kind of felt like, oh, well, it's Matt, and he followed me. I feel like I should follow back. It just felt like this weirdly manipulative practice, and I wanted to go to each of them and say, no. You don't have to follow this thing. I know you're not a geek. I know you're not actually going to listen to this. Don't feel like you need to do it. So I'm very uncomfortable, and I said this in the original one. I'm very uncomfortable with this process. Well, I'm still very uncomfortable with this automated thing. You can see I built a system where I have to see the people's names as I'm doing it so that I don't, it felt wrong. It felt wrong. to be able to do it this way? And I don't know what the answer is. I think I'm going to need to kind of maybe sit on this one and come back a little bit later. But the thing I could definitively report back on is it worked. Okay. I only followed people who follow me. So I was using it as kind of like a notification system. Now, theoretically, me tweeting about it and saying, hey, check this out, should be the notification system. But a whole bunch of people discovered it and started following it who already knew me, who already followed me, but who decided for some reason not to follow the 5 Minute Geek Show. When they got a follow from the 5 Minute Geek Show, they did follow it. And if they had followed it beforehand, they would have got a follow back. So it's not like they had to worry about, their follower count or something like that. So somehow it was effective in more people regularly getting updates from the 5 Minute Geek Show, which is the whole point. It may have messed with 5 Minute Geek Show's trust signals. And what I want to know is I want to hear from some people who got the follow and didn't follow back. Did it feel weird to you? Did it feel manipulative to you? And I think I'm actually might put a poll out to ask people about that. How did that feel for you? How did that experience feel for you? Did it make you feel less positive about 5 Minute Geek Show? Or maybe ask some people, this whole 22 to 100 followers to following ratio, how does that make you feel about it? Does that make you feel, that they're being manipulative, or is it just not a big deal? Am I hypersensitive about this? And if you're listening to this right now, please tell me on Twitter, what are your feelings in this way? But the great experiment, was to say, does following a whole bunch of people increase the reach of the 5 Minute Geek Show? Yes. Does following a whole bunch of people increase the regular listenership? Yes, the listening numbers are already up just as a result of this experiment. Do I feel like this is how I'm going to do things in the future? Probably not. I feel like there's something between where I was, which is just never use the system this way, and where this is, which is follow this. And that's what I said before. There's somewhere between never do anything and totally manipulative. Well, okay, so this is somewhere in the middle, right? This is somewhere between totally manipulative and where I was, but I still feel like there's somewhere between where I was and where I am right now doing this that is better. So like, I don't have the answer. I mean, it was an experiment, but I don't think there's this just magical conclusion that I can come to. But the experiment to see, does it increase the follower count? Absolutely. The experiment to see, does anybody say, oh my gosh, you're the worst jerk ever? Nobody said that yet, but I'm going to keep doing a little dig arounding. So that's it. So thanks for listening to the 5 Minute Geek Show. At 5 Minute Geek Show on Twitter, 5minutegeekshow.com, FIVE. Subscribe to us via iTunes or RSS. If you like the show, share it with your friends or rate it. And thanks. Until next time, this is Matt Stauffer in the 5 Minute Geek Show. Can you say 5 Minute?
5 Minute
Geek Show.
Geek Show.
Good job, buddy.